tomorrow is going to be better because you're already at a low point or you're already experiencing extreme stress from something.
Let's jump into it, Scott. Pumped to have you in the podcast space. I know we shot some podcasts with you in our previous podcast space, but is this the first one in here, or have you shot one here before?
This is the first one in here, man.
First one in the legit studio.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you like it?
Dude, I love it.
Does it feel legit?
Yeah, it does. It really feels like I've made it now.
The real deal. Yeah. That's what I like to hear. Hey, we've had some big names sitting in that seat right there, Scott.
Yeah.
We had Kevin from Love is Blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But just kidding. We've had a ton of real estate agents.
Scott Davison?
Scott Davison.
I don't even know how I found the time.
Yeah, I
to
know,
make
right?
this work.
I'm just happy. Like, I feel blessed being able to sit down and just pick your brain a little bit, Scott.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Happy to share.
Yeah.
Happy to help. Yeah.
Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So, I feel like one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make, whether it's buying a house, rebuilding, in general, whether it just be like whatever's going on in their life, being a father, is they disqualify themselves before like anybody else even does. They just disqualify themselves being able to get through whatever that next goal may be. What are your thoughts on that? I know you yourself are a father of a couple little ones, and you are in the real estate space, so you get to see, you have kind of a unique perspective on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it happens pretty often that people do disqualify themselves before they even get started on the game. I know when I went into real estate itself, there was a lot of voice and a lot of noise that was around that would say, it can be really hard. What's your backup plan? What's your plan B? What happens if it doesn't work? And to me, it was just never an option. And I figured that with the skill set that I had and with what I knew about myself, that it was, that it was certainly possible to do. And I knew that, in conversations, that this was going to be the path that was going to take the family into the future. And so it would have been easy to disqualify and listen to the noise that's out there. And I think a lot of times people do that. And so, but better safe than sorry sounds like something really wise. But in the end, maybe that's not the best choice. Sometimes risk is really where you can find a lot more reward.
Yeah. Being that we've known each other for a while, I know a little bit about your career and where you came from, but a lot of people might not know. So, talk to us. Tell me, kind of rehash out the story. Where were you in your career? How'd you get into real estate?
Oh, so I used to work for a large bank. I was a mortgage underwriter for a large bank, and even before then, I was a loan officer and a branch manager of a small community bank. So being a forward-facing, customer-facing, talking person is what I've always done. And when I went into a larger bank and began doing actual mortgage underwriting, it was a time that I really honed down and got the technicals for what really moves real estate and what impacts people's lives the most. And so those are skills that I definitely carry into my interactions with people, because everybody has a different, unique scenario. Even when I have a listing and we got multiple offers on it, there are certain unique things that I can help the sellers look through that will give them an advantage over one offer that may seem like it's better than the other, but there may be details in there that, from an underwriting perspective, may make it a riskier offer.
Yeah.
But that's for them to decide.
Talk to me like about the feelings and having a family as well. You know, like little kids. What were the feelings? What were the thoughts going through your head when making that jump? And what was the reason? What was the reason you're like, I need to do this? And then what did it feel like going through that process?
Well, it's incredibly terrifying, incredibly stressful. There's a lot of conversations that happen between our family to kind of determine the best route for us, because it just seemed like, as the family was growing, the needs of our family changed. And in order to, help provide the best that we could, um, we really considered those terrifying things of changing into a career, something that was consistent, stable, into something that was possibly more rewarding, could provide what we were actually trying to achieve for our goals in life, and something that was also going to give us flexibility. At the time, we had my son was in the NICU for 115 days. It wasn't a lot of certainty in any of that anyway. So we were in a situation where you kind of understand that nothing is certain. You can try to make the best plan that you possibly can. I mean, we had an awesome place picked out for where we were going to have our, the birth of our child, and, nice little suite set up, but, and everything just did not go according to the birth plan. And so we didn't know what the future of with health for our son was going to be, or even the future needs that our family was going to require. And what we knew was that, while we had a set, certain income, we also knew that it wasn't going to be enough for our family. And so those were the conversations that we were having intently, and under a lot of stress as well. Just trying to figure out the future.
Yeah, that had been a really difficult time. I can't imagine the stress. I mean, I've got a little one on the way in a month, and I've been running my own business for like 4 years now, and I'm stressed out still. I guess that you would say that there's like stability in what I've been doing because I've been doing it for a while already, but I can imagine the stress that I have being amplified in your situation by making that leap at that same time of kind of starting into something new, running your own business while you've got all those challenging situations going on with your newborn baby. So when you made the jump, so you were in your previous career, you knew this isn't going to get me where we want to be long term. You said, I see opportunity in real estate to make that jump, eventually get us to where we want to be. So then you make the leap. What was it like when you actually made that jump to going into real estate full time? And then what was it like through those first few months?
Well, when we went into it full time with the family, the first few months were extremely stressful, because obviously there's almost zero income coming in. And even when you do go into contract on a property, sometimes it can be 30 days from that point to when you even get paid. And so in between there as well, after I made the first listing appointment and whatnot, moving forward, in between there, I took on odd jobs even in between there, just to do what it took in order to help support the family. And so while it was not, while it was short of what we were doing before, I knew that the steps that I was taking, just being in the business world, were going to be steps that would lead to success. And just using the knowledge and the background that I'd been working nearly 20 years of my life and within banking and, on different ends of mortgages. I knew that applying that knowledge was going to be better serving to our family. And so while the results were not immediate and stressful, it did take a lot of hard work and conversations and developing the team that I come with. I come with a set of lenders that I work with. I come with a set of inspectors that I work with. I come with a set of structural engineers that I know. I come with title agents that I know. So when somebody talks to me now and they have a particular issue, I have surrounded myself with very knowledgeable experts that can help those people when those certain problems approach. And so during that time, it was a lot of legwork of knowing and figuring out what I needed to put together in order to generate success in the future. So it was a lot of digging in.
Yeah. How long did it take? What was the point where you knew, all right, I made the right decision? I'm seeing the rewards of the risk that I took. I'm seeing that we're going to get to that place where we wanted to be.
I would say when people started reaching out to me that I never heard of or contacted before that said, hey, you did this for so-and-so. And he told me that you did a good job. And I would like you to, take a look around and see what you can do for me. And once I knew that was real work that I had done before. And then the fruits of that labor were coming back. And that's when I knew that, okay, we can do this. And then it became a change in mindset as well. It flipped from, oh my gosh, where's my next conversation going to come from? Where's my next, where's my next property going to come from? To, okay, how much volume am I going to do this month as opposed to last month? Or what can I do this year as opposed to last year? So the stability is kind of began to equalize out. You've been doing yours for 10 years, and so at a certain point, I think your business does flip the switch, and once you begin seeing consistent return on a referral base, then that lets you know that one, you're doing a good job because people are sending people your way, and for two, it gives you fulfillment and satisfaction knowing that what you did for that person made such an impact in their life that they're willing to trust you with their friends, with their family, and people that they know, and then you do come to believe in yourself more,
Yeah.
in what you're doing anyway, too.
Yeah. So how many months was it after you made the jump full time? How many months do you think it was before you were like, okay, I made the right choice?
I'd say probably 13 months.
Yeah, that's a chunk of time.
It's a chunk of time. And in between there, it was a lot of it was a lot of just doing what it took in order to keep everything afloat and continuing to believe that you're set on this course and knowing that you're going to be doing an excellent job for people and, continually reevaluating, because obviously, if you're not in a point of that certainty that you want to be at, not only is it motivation, but it also is scary and
Yeah.
intense stress, but again, having been through like the NICU with my son for 115 days. Intense stress was something I kind of became accustomed to. And so using that kind of created some sort of Zen level in me that I can just, if stress can be just flying all around me, and I can still maintain a level head to think clearly and know what needs to be done.
Yeah. That's really interesting. It's almost like that kind of hardened you in a way where you're just not phased by the stress of business, or at least what other people might deem as a really stressful situation happening in business, because you're like, I've dealt with like life and death for my son's situation for 100 and you said 50 days. 15 days.
Yeah.
Like this is nothing. Do you feel like that's...
I do. Even when he came in, or even when he came home and he was on oxygen. And, working with the oxygen equipment and knowing when there was emergencies and when there wasn't emergencies and balancing out that, those can be incredibly stressful moments too, because when you're in there, you hear beep, beep, just these alerts that can go off, and you can be in the middle of the night and you're not really even sleeping because an alert may just go off because the monitor moved, or the sticky thing that was on his foot to monitor, heart rates and whatnot would move, and that can cause an error to where you're getting up and you just become kind of accustomed to the emergencies. And when you go through something that impactful in your life, you do have a way to sit through and analyze and think, and help people solve problems, reinforcing that, never using that as like a woe's me type of situation, but using it more towards, being able to absorb more of that energy for the people that you're working for, And so when it comes down to like how I work with people, whether it's on the buying side or selling side or whatever, I will put forward an excellent job, and I will do everything that I'm asked to do. But it's not up for me to dictate the outcome any more than what it was for me to dictate the outcome in the NICU. You had to let the experts around help solve this incredibly challenging issue, and that's also what I come with. I have many experts around me to help navigate through challenging aspects of real estate, so that stress, while still stressful for buyers and sellers sometimes, is at least alleviated, knowing that there are experts around. And I'm obviously not the expert of everything. I'm not a structural engineer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a home inspector or anything else like that. But I certainly know experts that are. That way, it can kind of make the challenge of real estate a little less challenging, knowing that you have a strong team.
Yeah, I feel like as a real estate agent, you're almost like a project manager. It's like your project is either helping your client buy a home or helping your client sell a home. And then it's not your job to try to do every single part of the process, because you're not going to be an expert in every single part of the process. But instead, your job is to bring in the right people who are experts in their different industries, and then you pull them all together to make sure the project gets completed for your client.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, too, relying on those opinions of the experts and then helping with strategy. Ultimately, it's not my job to choose for the seller. It's not my job to choose for the buyer. I can help those buyers and sellers make the most informed decision that's for their lives and their comfort level. But I can't tell them exactly what to do. I can only lead them to the most informed decisions.
Yeah. So you leave your job, you go into real estate full time, 13 months, you said. 13 months, right before you felt
13,
like,
yeah.
all right, I've made it. What was the most stressful point in that 13-month cycle?
I would say, managing expectations of even those around me, that was extremely challenging, but I understood that, from the outside looking in, you know, while you certainly have the opportunity to bet against me, and it looked like the odds are generally there, I mean, to bet against, eh, I think that hearing the noise, especially when you go from something that is consistently coming in and reliable and this and that, um, that it can feel like it's taking forever for those around you, the ones that you care about the most, because they also care for you too, and they wonder, what are you doing, so it's easy to question yourself too. What am I doing? Does this still make sense? And continually reevaluating that. And I think coming from underwriting, honestly, mortgage underwriting and analyzing risk and thinking through those, it was risk, but it was certainly calculated. But managing the love around, is sometimes more challenging.
Yeah.
For sure.
Coming from underwriting, what do you think are like the top 3 or 5 strategies, characteristics that you pulled from your time in underwriting that have helped you become so successful in your real estate career?
I've seen a lot of purchase contracts, and I've worked thousands of mortgages, and seeing so many purchase contracts from all over the country. I think there was only like 3 or 4 states that I even just didn't do a mortgage in. But seeing so many purchase contracts, the way that agents from across the country were working, having a unique perspective to be able to internalize that and be able to know exactly what helps make a deal easier as opposed to make a deal more challenging. So having those contracts that I've viewed from all over the country, it certainly did help. Another one was just knowing exactly what makes income work for somebody. I've come and had conversations with clients that again ruled themselves out because they've been self-employed for this long, or they've had this many jobs over this period of time. And I've had conversations with them, and I let them know, well, there are solutions for that. And I do work with, people that are experts in trying to make that work. And those experts, honestly, from what I learned in underwriting, I know that those experts get the job done in unique ways, for people that are self-employed, for business owners, for people who've switched jobs, or maybe they're seasonal, or maybe they're unique in they work for a union, and so they have multiple different types of sources of income, or even with the veterans. I've worked with veterans, and some of those veterans had different ideas of what a VA loan would do, but directing them to the right resources, they found out that, hey, you know what, this is actually a really good idea. And in a lot of the areas that I serve in Central Ohio, I honestly know that there are a lot of properties that also qualify for different types of programs, like a USDA loan, where there's like 0% down, which, ruled out. It goes against some of that concept that we were talking about before, where people rule themselves out. They think, well, I didn't have a down payment. Well, maybe you only need to come up with this much instead of the amount that you had in your brain, or in your mind or in your thought, whatever, because the houses that you're looking at certainly may qualify for. Sorry, I keep hitting that thing. Certainly may qualify for less of a down payment. And then I would say too, helping first-time home buyers navigate through the process and seeing that there are programs that are out there designed to help people. So pulling from my experience just within mortgage underwriting and talking to other underwriters that did particular things differently, because underwriters, while things are written down, there is a level of gray, and so knowing who those underwriters are and getting those opinions, you can kind of craft a way to best help the people that you're working with.
Yeah. All right. So tell me, what was a moment in your life when you feel like you counted yourself out too early?
I guess maybe there was in college. I guess I just felt like I never could make the good grades. So I just kind of chalked it up to learning a lot of the social aspects of life. And while I would go, I mean, it sounds horrible, but while I would go to class, I didn't really need to do a lot of studying or whatnot, but I also wasn't striving to make all A's. I probably counted myself out way too early on making the good grades, just thinking that it was going to be too difficult to do. I mean, I still ended up graduating, got my degree and everything else like that, but maybe had I tried a little bit harder, and I think that I could have. It was just that my maturity level at that time too helped me rule myself out. And I guess even a better scenario is I used to always rule myself out with learning how to do my daughter's hair. I never thought that I would be the dad that would be able to learn how to do pigtails or learn how to do a ponytail or do these little things with her bangs and stuff like that. I found myself in a situation in life where I had to learn those things, or even learn. I always counted myself out as understanding what kids' clothes sizes meant. I had no clue, and I taught myself how to know what kids' clothes sizes are, so that those clothes are right on, and fit properly, and I guess I used to count myself out in the ways of a father that I had different expectations and understanding of, but when I found myself in different circumstances, it really made me confront the reality of, okay, is that just me counting myself out and I really can't do it, or is this an opportunity for me to really make more and do more because I have to and I want to, and the ones that I'm doing all of this for need me to do it the most.
Yeah. And what's something that you feel like in life you never would have been able to, the old version of you never would have been able to do, that version that maybe counted himself out too early?
The old version of me, I think, there were things that I can do now in fatherhood, just kind of those same things that I was saying there. The old version, I think, would have not taken the time to learn that. And I think the old version of me, when it came to my flexibility and how I can think about managing my daily schedule, would have been more rigid in the things that I do, And the old version would not have been able to multitask like I can do. And now I can cook a lunch, uh, braid my daughter's hair, uh, make sure the dog's going out, and take a client call. But before, I think the old version of me would have just been, said, okay, I need a pause, and I need to go somewhere quiet, and I need to do this, and then done one thing at a time, as opposed to the multitasking that I do now.
And was there a moment, as a father, that you felt like a switch flipped where you're like, I need to be able to change to better serve my kids?
Yeah, I think when you are confronted with so many things that need your attention at one time, um, and if those things aren't getting addressed, if nothing's getting addressed because you completely malfunction, um, you begin to quickly understand that it's okay to have the food getting slightly burned or something like that, or it's okay that the braid isn't perfect, or it's okay that um, that there's food on the floor. I mean, the things that I used to be more particular about, I understood that you have to be more flexible in life or nothing's going to get done. So, you know, at the end of the day, you begin understanding that perfection is not the goal. The goal is really getting the job done and doing it to the best of your ability and capacity while keeping those around you feeling loved, cared for, happy, Um, and sometimes, yeah, I don't always match the clothes that my daughter has. And she's learning to pick out her own clothes because she gives me a little grace on it.
Yeah. Hey, look, man, when I was a kid, I thought it took me probably until I was in high school to realize that matching doesn't mean that you're wearing a red shirt and red pants. Like I literally thought I could not get that through my brain. I was like, Mom, what are you talking about? How does this not match if it's literally the exact same color? That is the definition of matching. But so, yeah, my wife dressed me for the most part. So my aunt literally earlier today, she goes, Grant, I like your shoes. I said, thanks. You should tell Kristen because I didn't buy them. What's something that your kids have said in the past that hit you hard or changed how you thought about life?
Well, there's a lot of things, to tell you the truth. And you'll find this out. Because as they get older, they begin talking more, and there's a purity to what they say. There's a level of heaviness that can sometimes come with what they're saying within that purity, because it can be challenging knowing what they're saying, because some things can tug at your heartstrings as a father, and then at the same time that you have to still maintain a degree of discipline and a degree of order and expectations. I guess there was an example where my daughter got in trouble because she got into a little pushing match with my son, and so I sent her up to her room, and the discipline is a process at her age. It's a lot of daddy this and coming back and trying to reason and negotiate. And she happens to be a super good negotiator.
She's a real estate agent right there.
I think so. She mentions all the time how she wants to sell houses. But in one of the moments where she'd coming out of her room because she had to go to bed early that night, she came to me and she said, Daddy, Daddy, you only have this much time with me, and then it's just going to be gone. And I thought, damn, it's true, you know, because I only do have this much time with her, not just in life, but it's just in this moment where she's this age. And for her to have this understanding was just mind blowing for one. So I was already taken off guard. But I had to sit there and think for a minute. I thought, well, it's true. It is true what you're saying. But we still have to have consequences for the things that we do. And I said, tomorrow starts brand new, and we're going to have a brand new day, and it was just brand new slate. But for tonight, you do have to have that punishment and feel that. And she understood. But it also hit me, because it made me want to spend that immediate moment and a little bit more time with her and, share more time, because she's right. There is only that much time, and then it's gone. And she said it so perfectly and so truthfully. And it's just, I think I'm always going to remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how kids can, like you said, they have there's this innocence to them where they understand the world to a certain degree, and maybe they don't know how to exactly say what they're feeling or understand what they're implying by what they say, and they just say the truth, and it's like the most honest truth ever, and they don't really understand the implications of it, but to you it's like, wow, that kind of hit home on multiple levels.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard. You don't ever want to be without them.
Yeah. What's a lie that you think that most men believe that keeps them stuck in life?
Most men?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say believing that the expectations that they grew up with are enough to navigate what your current circumstances may be. So when I grew up, I grew up in the 80s and early 90s. There was a certain set of expectations that were told to me as certain as truth itself, and thinking that would navigate me and serve me always in the future. It turned out to be wrong. The only way that you can really navigate your future is by living what's right there in front of you and within that moment, and using your life experience to help you navigate what you need to in that moment. And I think that's more being a man than having a certain set of expectations that you've carried with you from childhood.
So tell me, kind of coming back to real estate, what's one of the biggest misconceptions that you feel like people have about being in a situation to qualify to buy or sell?
I think sometimes the most often that I run into is people who want to buy a new house, but they already have a house. And so they think that the challenge is to sell that house. They need to take a step-by-step process. But really, the whole transaction can happen very smooth and very seamlessly within even the same day. You can do same-day closings. You can list your house at the same time that you buy your house, and that is okay. I think there was an old thinking that said, oh, I need to sell my house, and then once I get my money, then I can shop for a house. But you're going to be homeless. You don't want to be homeless, and maybe you got a family, maybe you got a lot of pets or something like that, and you just don't have the luxury of the time. And that was in a time too when man, we didn't have all the digital stuff that we do now, the technology that we do now, that can make transactions happen very fast. Even across the country in multiple time zones, closings can happen, whether it's digitally or mail away. You know, those things I don't think were as common at the very beginning, and some people still have a lot of those old misconceptions.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities out there for people to be in a position to buy or sell, and so many different programs, lending programs. Yeah, it's endless, the opportunity. So it's about connecting with a good real estate agent who can then give you the best path to make it happen. If there's a guy out there listening to this podcast and he feels like he's behind in life, what would you say directly to him?
I would say that there's always an opportunity to rebuild, reshuffle, and grow. If you find yourself behind in life in any way, I think that it gives you all the opportunities that you actually really need. It gives you a position where you can't really lose much more because you already lost. You already know what it feels like to be without it. And I think that when you find yourself behind, that it is important to look at that as an opportunity to build into anything that you now see as a better future, because there's always a better future. You know, there's always a way that you can feel like tomorrow is going to be better because you're already at a low point or you're already experiencing extreme stress from something. Tomorrow will be better. It does. And that's what the opportunity that comes every second, whether it's a phone call, an email, you know, a letter in the mail or something like that. You know, even if you're dreading looking at the mail, even if you're dreading answering your phone, at a certain point, it does change and does get better. So look at the moments that you're rebuilding as not just rebuilding whatever's the problem, but rebuilding everything as a whole to make what your bigger goal is come true.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah. Dude, there's so many cheesy quotes out there on social media and whatnot. It drives me insane sometimes. So I feel like some people, if they just took 10% of the time that they put toward reading motivational quotes or listening to motivational phrases and actually put that toward like applying any of those quotes or phrases in life and making change in their life, they could be light years beyond where they currently are. So it kind of drives me crazy in life when it's like people are just motivational quote. But it might sound cheesy. I truly do believe that you can turn things around in your life and steer your own life in the direction that you want to. Any day, you can make that decision that you're going to change things. Sure, you're not going to snap your fingers and boom, life is all, perfect. But you can go so much further in life than where you are in a specific moment in such a short period of time. Like if you just really commit to something for a period of time, for a couple months, if you really commit, it's crazy what you can do in life.
I agree with you.
I'll get off my pedestal now.
No, I think I think you said it beautifully. I really do think.
Did I really say that beautifully?
I think it was pretty beautiful.
Was it beautiful?
Yeah.
Was it beautiful, Ella?
It was.
She's not even listening. She's typing on her laptop. That's how uninteresting what I just said was. She's like, sure, Grant.
Well, you made a mark on me and the audience.
Well, I appreciate it. Maybe that didn't capture your attention, Ella, but I'll tell you what will. Did you know that 9 to 5 does not actually stand?
I was on the edge of my seat. I too was like,
Yeah.
So next time Grant tries to have you in here from 9 to 5.
That's right. It's all, they're just made up
Just a
times.
made up concept.
Yeah.
Man.
One day I was like, 9 to 5.
It means what I say it means.
Yep. That's right. All right. Last question for you, Scott.
Yeah.
If anybody out there is thinking about buying or selling real estate and doesn't know where to get started, what would you say?
Identify what your need is. You know, are you adding more members to your family? Are you an empty nester? Are you preparing for retirement? Are you renting and now you want to go and start building some equity? Is there some sort of life event that's happening to you or your family that makes you think about your next move? Those are certainly the biggest things that really come up, and why the market still moves no matter what all the outside noise may be. Central Ohio is completely different. We are not Florida. We are not Texas. We are not California. This area has a lot of growth, and this area has a lot of potential. And just identifying the needs, and then the needs, and being able to understand that there's certain needs that other families around the area have as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, Scott. It was a pleasure to have you in the podcast studio today. I'm honored.